Uh-oh. There we go. Hi, we had a little delay in the start of the live feed here, but hi, folks, family, friends, anyone who's out there. Once again, I'm Gary, and...
My name's Jacob.
And we are the Master and Apprentice Show. And today we are doing, I guess, an earlier than expected episode 2, aren't we? We were talking at the end of...
Yeah, like Christmas break for me for college, because
yes.
I've been busy, but Labor Day weekend comes around, totally forgot about it.
That was our thinking at the time, and then his granddad and I said, oh, let's go down. Let's try to go down Labor Day weekend. So I said, oh, that's going to fall right in the middle of Ahsoka.
Yeah, so instead of reviewing all of Ahsoka all at once, we can kind of do like a pseudo halfway marker, which isn't so bad.
Yeah,
so.
No, that's great. That's great. So before we get started, I do have to address one thing. I don't know if it's going to happen while we're doing the episode here or not, but I had a little bit of a medical issue last week. I was having some heart palpitations, and we think it's a dietary issue. I've been okay the last 3 days or so, but they've got me hooked up to one of the heart monitors. I can't remember what they call it now. Yeah. And so if you see me press the button here on my chest, that's what I'm hitting. I'm not just doing that because I'm nervous or something. That means I've actually felt a heart palpitation coming on. I hope it doesn't happen. But yeah, I'm wired up like C-3PO here in the Rise of Skywalker. Stay tuned. At the end of the show, my eyes will turn red, and I'll translate Sith text for you.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Honestly, pretty cool.
Yeah, actually pretty cool, dude, right? Sorry, the bugs are out, too, here. Anyway. So today we are going to strictly talk about Ahsoka. Jacob and I have just finished watching episode 3 called, what was the title of it? I looked it up when we came out here.
Something about flight, I think.
Yeah, Time and Flight, I think.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Oh, God, I looked it up, too, before we went out here. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry if we got the episode name wrong.
It's whatever.
But anyway, hey, I'll let you start out. We're going to go with the same format. I'll let you go, and then I'll go give my thoughts after. What'd you think of the overall episode?
Honestly, I thought it was a really good episode. I mean, we haven't talked about episodes 1 or 2 yet or anything like that.
Sure.
But I do really like being able to see all of the Rebels characters in like live action, out of animation. Really cool. Absolutely, especially Chopper, the war criminal mentality is really carrying over.
Oh, we predicted that in episode 1, guys. Remember? You know that little SOB swore, too. We don't know exactly 100%. What he said. But
yeah, exactly.
But anyway.
No, it's also really cool to see other characters like Hera and Sabine come back, and also having conversations about Ezra again. I mean, when Rebels ended, I wasn't sure where that was going to go because it kind of just flatlined, like the whole Ezra, like finding him and wherever Thrawn went, and I don't know. It's just cool to kind of see that they're actually taking that path to see if they can't find him. They've mentioned him every episode, I think now. So it's
and we've seen the hologram too. We've seen the hologram of his message to Sabine, and there's one thing I picked up on. I don't think I mentioned this to you. We had a private discussion last week of the first 2 episodes before he went back to classes, but and I don't remember the actor's name now that plays him, but I picked up on this. I don't know if you did or any of the people maybe who might be Rebels fans out there who might be watching did. The actor really, I thought, so far, what little we've seen, has done a good job portraying Ezra, because if you notice in Rebels, every time he talks to Sabine or every time he talks about Sabine, he does that thing where he rubs the back of his head like he's nervous. Yeah. And he did that in the middle of that. Did you notice in the middle when she played the hologram? Yeah.
Those two definitely had some chemistry in the show anyway.
Oh, so. there's more than just a brother-sister thing there. Yeah.
It just never went anywhere during the, however many seasons.
But I thought and I'm sorry I've forgotten the name of the actor, but he, I think, feels like with just that little bit, as a bee goes by, has done a good job picking up on, maybe watching the series and picking up on the little idiosyncrasies of how the character acts. And
I hope we get to see more of him, too. I'm assuming, I have no idea where the show is actually going to take off from here. And I love making predictions, but I also don't try to get my hopes so high that I find myself disappointed when they don't do something exactly like I thought it was going to go. But I really am looking forward to seeing more of that character, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to say, I think I didn't know much about the actress Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but she's going to get a little emotional, but she brought Hera to life. I really like that character.
Yeah, no, for
I'm sorry, everyone out there, but I'm happy to see these characters.
Oh, I know. It's pretty great.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally okay.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to do this, but And what do you think about? Well, we want to talk about episodes 1 and 2 later. We want to stick to episode 3. So I'm jumping ahead here a little bit. Sorry, but anyway, and we got in this episode too. I want to talk about Doctor Hu Yang. There, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but
no, exactly.
His sassiness, and he's a
witty one. I love the guy. I liked him in the Clone Wars too. That arc with Yoda and the Padawans in the Clone Wars when they went to get their crystals.
Yes.
And Hu Yang was talking about, you know, how to construct a lightsaber and like what it means to be like a Padawan learner following a master. Really cool, because I don't think there's many other arcs in like the Clone Wars or other Star Wars projects where we've like actually been able to see that progression. So he's always been like that mentor droid that's like done that, and it's really cool to see him back, because when Sabine's trying to get going with her own training, you know, Force sensitive or not, which, you know, we'll talk about that too.
Sure.
But it's just really cool to see him in live action being as witty and as uncanny as before, in his like no holding back on the comments kind of thing.
Oh my God,
he's very real.
He is.
He's a realist.
Matter of fact, I mean, how many times did we hear him basically tell Sabine in this episode? Boy, I forgot to tell everyone too. We were going to go into spoilers in case somebody who hasn't watched the show. Sorry,
very big spoilers.
Yikes! I was going to do that too, and I forgot. But he's basically telling Sabine, you suck."
Yeah. I don't sense much force in you, and it's just like
I'm not feeling it.
Which, I mean, for a droid that was programmed for Padawan learning, I mean, he's been seeing, you know, young ones. Like, they're supposed to learn when they're like infants, like babies. Yeah. And then to see Sabine starting their training when she's like, I don't know, what, like in her 20s? Probably.
I mentioned this, I mentioned this to him offline too. I was looking through about that Timelines book some time ago there, or whenever that came out in the spring or summer there. I was kind of flipping through that, and he's in there. He was created 25,000 years ago.
Yep.
And how long ago is that James Mangold movie going to take place? 25,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So
it'd be really cool to see him in that too.
Again, something else I'm not getting my hopes up for,
but would be a really cool, like, potentially even more than a cameo. Could be a huge part of it.
See him get constructed in that James Mangold movie.
Exactly.
You know, what was the reasoning really for constructing a droid to do this, rather than have maybe a succession of Jedi Knights over time do it?
Exactly.
You know, I guess to have the database.
I was just going to say that. Like, for him, it makes more sense because he has a larger database. And, like, what he did in Episode 2, I believe, when he identified the lightsabers of those two dark Jedi, so to speak. We'll learn more about them, I'm sure, in the future.
Right. Yep.
Exactly. But having that database is, like, immensely helpful to be able to figure out, like, who people are.
Yes.
You know, taking on, like, certain designs that may be more different in the future. Like, it's just really cool to see that he has all of that information just stored and ready for ready access.
Yeah, and he seems to have all the fight techniques in that. I pronounce it database. I used to have an argument with a guy at one of my former workplaces about whether it was data or data. We won't get into that here. But anyway, he's obviously got that in his database too.
Exactly.
You know, all the different fight techniques.
Yeah. And of course, in the beginning of Episode 3, we saw him actually using those to train Sabine with when he had those 4 arms.
Exactly.
And he was...
It was a different kind of training sabers he was using.
Yeah, it wasn't even blocking her direct contact. It was measuring how her slashing through the saber was. Like, when he pulled it up for analysis, it was like different cutting patterns. And I'm assuming that was like how well accurate you were with your cutting techniques, and how like proficient you are. Oh, there's a bee.
The bee is back, and we're gonna have a guest star here on the show.
Yeah. Be the Star Wars fan.
If you're not a Star Wars fan, go away.
Exactly.
So, but anyway.
Really cool training sequence. I thought.
I felt like those blades were almost like I almost said holographic, but I think force field like.
Yeah.
I mean, she was hitting her training saber, wooden training saber, whatever that was made of, with it, but they were. Yeah. I think they were bouncing off. I'm gonna watch it again when I get home. We're down visiting him. I live like 3 hours north of these guys, so I live up in the boondocks, as I said last time too. But anyway, So, what's the next thing you want to get into?
Well, I guess we can talk about what happened afterwards with the flights and using the tracking beacon, I guess, to go find that huge hyperspace ring of theirs.
So that's a mystery, what this hyperspace ring. Well, I guess it's not. I think it's to get to that other galaxy, which we'll talk about, was revealed in the first 2 episodes.
Exactly.
But that's obviously to get there, because
which is crazy, because like in Attack of the Clones, when we see like Obi-Wan Kenobi using that to get to, I believe, Geonosis. in his little Jedi starfighter.
Just size enough for his starfighter.
little thing, and it's just like, well, when I was a kid, those were pretty freaking cool too.
Yeah,
I was pretty fascinated now, but you look at this and it's like, you know, scaled up to unbelievable degree. It's really cool. Now it's even better. But
yeah, I mean, it looks like you could dock a Star Destroyer in there.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know the scale.
I'm not sure what their plan is with it. If it's actually going to get docked with any of the shuttles or ships.
It doesn't look like it's got any clamps or anything.
Yeah, because this character Morgan, she's already in. Like she already has a place to be in it. Like there's already like a cockpit, so to speak, in the way top of the ring. So it's almost like you could pilot it just the ring itself, and that might be all that it is.
And it looks like there's very few. There was just that one droid there. It looked like was
some droids that I don't believe we've seen before.
Yeah, we haven't seen that droid.
And I don't know. It also looks really fancy. The whole thing is very like plated with like what looks like rare precious metals. It
looked like Star Trek. It looked a little too clean.
It's all very rich, and I mean,
yeah.
as much as Star Wars tends to be gritty at times, I feel like with this, you know, trying to find Thrawn and with Morgan, they're all very like rich, high class. Like, oh, I'm involved with the Empire on a high level. It's like, you are packing some money, dude. Like, you have a lot of money.
I think that's what she is too, yeah.
I'm sure that all of this is funded by, like, you know, former Imperial funds and all that, or just criminal activity. Because
well, in that episode where she first appeared in the Mandalorian, I can't remember what they said she was into, but her family was into some kind of she was into some kind of business. So she's one of the money people that is funding this stuff. Yeah.
And if you pull from Andor, huge shift change here, but I mean, Andor, like the entire purpose of that show was talking about how the Imperials were all, they're so fat, and you know they're all pleasured being a part of this huge empire that makes so much money, and you know, while everybody else suffers and is poor on whatever planet they're on.
And
exactly. So
Corellia,
let's just say with her family connections with wealth, I'm also not shocked if a lot of that fund came from former Imperial funds.
I wouldn't be one bit surprised to find out she's got a room already pre-booked on Cano Bike.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, with those highfalutin people there. So
ready for it.
Out on the gambling floor. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, that was interesting too. We'll have to see how that works.
Yep.
I'm assuming we're going to go to that galaxy.
Oh, I'm waiting for this huge ring to get started up. I want to see this thing blast off into somewhere else. I want my screen to shake, basically.
And dudes, not to brag to the audience out there, I got a 7.1 surround sound system in my house.
His house is going to collapse.
Oh, I'm afraid they're going to have to come get me in the rubble. That won't be good. That might not be a good day.
Yeah,
I might want to turn the volume down a little bit when they fire that sucker up.
Just a little bit. Turn the bass down a little bit so it doesn't shake down so much. But no, definitely a very interesting little craft there, and I'm excited to see that get going and see where all this takes us. But I mean, I guess not much longer after that, we got an intro of the Purrgil again.
It was great to see them too.
Outside of animation, which, you know, the first episode we saw them in Rebels, I had no idea what to think of them. They were just space whales on what seemed like a spin-off episode that had little to no huge connection. Like it was just a spin-off.
That episode felt like an F-word episode filler.
Yeah.
At the time, and then you find out later
the forbidden Star Wars
not so
F-word.
Much. Dave Filoni always.
Yeah,
comes
he
back
really
to
brought it back, and when we saw them come back in the series finale of Rebels, well, I don't know if that was like the finale episode, but it was a sequence of finale episodes, and Ezra used them to get Thrawn out of Dodge and save everybody and
out of Dodge.
Yeah, and well, here we are. I mean, this is really the inspiration for this entire show, so it's really cool to see them. And if I had to guess, I have a little mini theory here.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
You know, Morgan and all of these like Inquisitor type, Dark Jedi are going to use this ring to go find Thrawn, I'm assuming. Like
that's what I think
to hop the galaxy. They were talking all about
he's in that other galaxy.
Exactly. I feel like Ahsoka and all the other Rebels characters that choose to join on this trek are going to use the Purrgil to get there instead.
Oh, to chase them down.
As a hyperspace animal that can, be of equal speed, probably. I mean, we were told in this episode that these Purrgil have come from different galaxies, that they've used those lanes, those intergalactic lanes to in their speed to travel between them. So I would not be shocked at all if that was exactly what happened with that.
I think you're dead on that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see, but I think you got a great theory there.
I'm gonna turn into a little whiny fanboy
He's
when
gonna,
that happens.
He's going to have his own YouTube. He's going to break away from this. He's going to get his own YouTube channel.
Jeez, nah.
Nah.
Still got to learn something here. I'm not perfect.
I'm still the master. He's still the apprentice.
We'll see.
So anyway,
this is a debatable conversation.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, I always like noticing things that look like real life things, and those spacecraft that Shin Hati and Merrick and the other pilots were chasing them in.
Yep.
They had a very, I mentioned it right when we were watching it. I thought it had a very World War II vibe to them.
Their guns on the ships too, the way that they fired and stuff like that.
Yes.
It felt very realistic. Obviously, not with lasers. I mean, if we saw World War II fighters using lasers in battle, I think I'd die. We wouldn't be here. But like the design and like the way that they fired, it just like I feel like there's definitely some inspiration there. And it's not the first time Star Wars has been inspired by other like historical times too. I mean, even in the Book of Boba Fett when we saw those like colorful scooters or like those colorful bikes that those gang members used. That was inspired by those cars that had the same kind of color pattern too.
They reminded me of the little cars that the little kids rode at the carnivals. There was always that one ride at the carnival there that had the multicolored cars and motorbikes and stuff. But I think there are people who customize their real bikes like that too.
Oh yeah,
I'm not into the motorbike culture, but
exactly. But either way, Star Wars does draw from a lot of very real things.
Oh, they draw from everything.
So it's like if you think you see something that looks like real life, probably inspired.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's probably the case. So
yeah. I agreed with that for sure.
I know I'm forgetting some stuff here, so because we just watched it an hour ago.
Yeah. I guess we can draw a little bit on the trailer.
Yeah, we can draw a little bit on the trailer. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah, so at the end of this episode, I suppose, when Ahsoka and Sabine and Huyang, they landed on this planet, and now they're getting hunted by Balin, I believe his name was, right?
Yes, Balin, right at the tail end, yeah.
Now they're getting hunted by Balin. Well, I noticed in the trailer, one of the shots is Ahsoka and Balin fighting on this planet with all of these artifacts. I have to assume that the natural progression means that episode 4 is we're going to get a fight between Balin and Ahsoka.
Yeah, he's sending those guys
I
out
have to bet that. Yeah. Which, honestly, very cool. I've actually really appreciated all the choreography in this show. It's been very clean. I've actually really enjoyed all of the fighting.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the space Ahsoka when she flipped and like cut that ship right in half.
Well, I told you, I felt like I was watching that last episode of Clone Wars again, where they were in atmosphere there.
Yeah.
But Jacob's getting visited by a kitty cat.
Yeah, there's a cat out here.
But not even theirs; it's the neighbors.
Yeah.
But anyway, she. There was that part of it, and then when she flipped upward and cut the wing off, that was very much like on Pisana when Rey did the flip and sliced the wing off Kylo's TIE fighter.
Yep.
So I got a couple different vibes there. These shows are all. What I enjoy is these shows are all. The movies maybe haven't done the greatest job tying themselves together.
Yep. But the shows do a good job.
Shows are doing it.
Yeah.
The shows are doing it.
Yep. No,
so
for sure.
And that's fine by me.
Yep.
That's fine by me.
Another connection that he made, I'm not going to take responsibility for this, but was when Sabine put on that helmet and blocked out
I almost forgot about
the vision.
But I made the comment.
She said almost verbatim the line that Luke said in A New Hope.
Yeah, Luke in A New Hope tells Obi-Wan, well, with the blast shield down, I can't see. How am I supposed to fight?
And she said almost the exact same thing.
Well, she said the second part of it.
Yeah, how am I supposed to fight?
A New Hope vibe.
Yep.
So there again, just
connections for sure.
Just weaving that carpet.
It certainly
it
builds my respect for Dave Filoni because him having basically apprenticed under George Lucas. They have a very similar mentality towards all of this stuff, and it feels like the vision has kept pretty similar with the works he's worked on.
I could piss some people off saying this, but I'm going to say it. Do you dare me to say it?
Go right ahead.
I think Dave Filoni knows Star Wars better than George Lucas does.
I feel like some. Well, I mean, I feel like
there's a hot take.
I know, jeez, but
wow.
I feel like in a way that is almost true, just because if you consider that.
Not really. I don't really.
He wasn't the one that necessarily made it, but he's been inspired by all of it, so he has a more fresh take on it too.
Yeah.
So it's it's just a different perspective, but it follows a similar line of thought. So it's just. It's a very interesting go at it.
Right,
for sure.
right. Yeah.
But
now we have a cat coughing up a hairball down here.
Yeah.
So just keeping everyone informed of what's going on around us.
Lots of different environmental factors going on today.
I'll tell I'm going offshoot here like I do sometimes, but about Dave Filoni, I'll tell you a little story I saw in a documentary I watched on YouTube. He, when he was working on The Last Airbender, he worked with it. Yeah, I know you enjoy that. I gotta check that out myself sometime. But he was working with a guy who just absolutely hated the prequels.
Yep.
And Dave Filoni talked about the prequels to this guy to where the guy flipped.
Yep.
The guy completely flipped on the prequels. I don't remember his name now, but I guess he completely flipped on his attitude on the prequels, and he was like totally into them. You know, Filoni just
Didn't
said, "Hey, this is what this means, and this is you know what that means, and how it connects to the original trilogy and whatnot."
There's definitely a lot of contention between Star Wars with different people
Different eras.
that like different. You know, some people like the sequels, some people like the prequels. I think it's a good habit to kind of just like bits and pieces of all of them, because that's what keeps your fandom at the peak. At least in my opinion, that's how I look at it. I try to take the good parts out of all of them and continue watching where I like it. And obviously with Ahsoka, like with how the show is going, I'm very happy with the progress. I'm really enjoying the pacing it's taking.
So I'm gonna make a couple deep cuts here. We saw who I didn't look it up, but we saw who I think, and I know you didn't watch Resistance.
I did not watch Resistance.
The main character is named Kyoto Uzono. I'm getting that name wrong. See, I obviously didn't pay much attention to it either. But
it's a little bit of a different show.
His father was a senator from Hosnian Prime, and I think that gentleman that was to Mon Mothma's left in that hologram in this episode.
When Hera was talking to the group.
Yeah, when Hera was talking to the group, she had the senators. They were all, talking to Hera via hologram. I think that was his father. I'm gonna Kyoto Ziono. It's bugging me now that I get his name wrong. Kazuto Ziono. There we go. Kazuto Ziono. And I think that's his father there to the left of Mon Mothma.
It wouldn't even necessarily shock me if that was like a cameo that they were definitely trying to do. I mean, like we just said, Star Wars loves to make connections between different works to like really mesh the whole universe together. I'm gonna look it up afterward
and make sure it's him. And our next
but
video.
I bet you somebody else has a lot more confidence in their answer about that than we do.
I wanted to look it up, but I forgot to before we got over here. Some things happened and what have you. But I banged my head on a chandelier in there. It wasn't pretty. But anyhow, there was that. And we got the Jason, for those of you who are real hardcore Rebel fans.
Yep.
He showed up just in that postscript in that last episode of Rebels when Sabine is given that little
post-war recap
at the end.
Yep.
And we find out, Hera and Kanan had a kid.
Yep.
And
which, I'm really looking forward to getting to know him more because
me too.
Obviously, Kanan was force sensitive. Dude was I looked up to that guy quite a lot during Rebels.
Yeah.
He was an amazing character.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool to see. If we get to see anything about Jason becoming force sensitive, and he even posed the exact same question during the show. He was like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I want to be a Jedi was how it went.
Yeah,
along the lines of that.
Yeah, and he said, "How'd you know about this?" or something like that. His mother said.
Yeah,
I got to watch it a second time to get all the nuances down. But she said, "How'd you find out about this?" Chopper told me.
Yeah. That guy cannot keep his mouth shut.
He can't keep that filthy little vocoder of his shut. I hope he didn't swear in front of the kid.
Yeah, I know. Trying to keep some clean thoughts.
Just keep it clean for the kids,
Exactly.
That's why we don't swear on this show.
Yeah.
We're trying to, in case there's any youngsters watching, we don't want to keep it clean for them.
Yeah.
For the younger people out there watching.
When we did see Jason on the show, we were thinking a little bit about the sequels and Luke's Academy and stuff like that, and potentially thinking about.
I hope he wasn't there.
I hope he wasn't there either. I mean,
there's been a lot of people speculating that he was piloting the Ghost in the Rise of Skywalker, so he may have graduated from Luke's Academy before that all went down.
For those that didn't look super hard into the Rise of Skywalker's huge ship spectrum when all of them came into, win the day, so to speak.
Yeah, I think I've
look a lot closer because there's the Ghost. There's a couple of other really notable ships in there.
J.J. Abrams said that every single ship type that had ever appeared in Star Wars, every era, every type of show, animated or not, or live action, was in that show.
Yeah, and I don't even doubt. And I mean, me, myself, I haven't even looked, with like a fine comb, so to speak. I haven't looked at that either, but
I don't think you could.
I'm sure it's a very dense photo or a picture or whatever.
It's nuts what's going on there.
No, it was really cool to see that the ghost is in that too. And honestly, I wouldn't even be shocked if that was like Jason, maybe even co-piloting with Hera. Or something
it's either him or it's him and his mother.
Yeah, very very cool tie.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Again, making connections through all the different eras.
Yeah.
So. Have we missed anything, or do we want to go into maybe give our thoughts on the whole series?
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about episode 1 and 2 as well.
What do you think of the whole thing so far? 3 episodes in, small sample size here, but
yeah, I mean, we haven't even reached the halfway point yet. But as far as I'm concerned, this intro segment of 2 to 3 episodes, really good. I've had zero problems with, like I said before, like the pacing, the choreography, the storytelling. I really like all of the nuances too, especially with episode 2 when we saw those people at the freight yard or whatever, or I'm not sure if that's what they called it or not, but the shipyard with the
shipyard. It is the shipyard in Corellia. Yeah.
That was a really cool episode because it showed the dynamics of how people are still loyal to the Empire, even despite it being destroyed for as long as it had. Well, it hasn't really been that long, I guess, but long enough that you think the remnants would have died out. But I think this is a lot of where the First Order comes from too in the sequels, is that people in the New Republic, they never really tried to weed out the remnants. And even when Hera presented her argument that Thrawn was still out there to the group of senators, they just dismissed her. They said, oh, no worries, it's not going to be a problem.
And she owned that, if that is Kasuda's father in that shot, I mean, she owned him.
Oh, yeah.
With her response there. She said, did you just wait to see who was going to come out on top?
Exactly.
Something like that.
Were you even in the war?
Were you in the war? And there was a long pause. And he says, well, no. He said, she said, you just waited on the sidelines until...
Which, of course, warranted no response from him because he was speechless.
He didn't say a word.
Exactly.
She owned his butt on that one. And good for her.
No, I totally agree with that.
Good for her.
But, no, I just think it's really cool that Ahsoka shows, like, The Mandalorian. A lot of the post, Imperial era type Star Wars shows have really been digging into the thought that the Imperial remnants are a little bit more involved than people like to think. And this is definitely why, like, the First Order or other, like, big empire-like organization, so to speak, came about.
Right.
It had to have been that.
Right.
So it's just really cool to kind of get some insight on that. And that shipyard, like, director or whatever, I did not like him. That guy seemed like he was sketchy from the get-go. I knew exactly where that was going, and when he revealed his cards, I was like, I knew it.
Yeah.
And I would,
he just had that sleazy look to him.
Exactly.
He was, I'm not going to use the word because they can't use it on sports talk radio. I watch a lot of sports talk radio. I'll just say he was a DB.
Yeah, he not a very good guy.
No,
and, yeah, he just liked to brush off a lot of the the questions that involved Imperial activity, and it was just it was sleazy. That's the best way to put it.
I'm going to jump off a little bit on what you said there. I kind of like how these shows too, these post Return of the Jedi shows, are really diving into the fact that this New Republic isn't exactly doing the right things. No. And I mean, Hera owning this senator, is basically saying that.
Just Exhibit A.
Mon Mothma really had not much to say about this either. And I mean, she's the one you would think that would be.
Speaking.
It seems like she's actually powerless, even though she's the chancellor. She's powerless under the influence of these senators that don't want to do anything about. And they just want to sit back on their laurels and everything's cool.
Exactly. Which, like I said, makes the rise of the First Order a lot more explainable. I know people had issues with, like, why did another, like, Imperial force come back? And, like, that's something the movies didn't explain it to.
Because the New Republic wasn't vigilant.
Exactly. But now that we get these shows, we see the vigilance of the New Republic being, well, basically near zero. It's pretty garbage. So it's interesting to see, like, how all that dynamic is working. And it makes plenty of sense. Like, a new government that doesn't have good footing has no idea what it really wants to be.
Right. Well, there's always, you go back, you look at American history, and
same deal.
I've watched a lot of documentaries recently about the Revolutionary War and
yeah.
what happened post-Revolutionary War, and it was rocky, to say the least.
And this is exactly the same situation.
Yeah.
The only issue with this one is that they had an opposing force already going against them, and they didn't even see it.
Right.
So rocky grounds, no real defense against it.
Yeah, this is when you can be most.
They got floored.
Most vulnerable.
Exactly.
That's when a government can be most vulnerable.
I really like that shows go into that kind of sense. And
I enjoy that.
To be fair, me political Star Wars shows like Andor. Oh my God, amazing!
Nice.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, and I really, I like I love the action-packed and the Jedi-centric episodes of, now I'm going off another offshoot. We're supposed to be talking about Ahsoka, but the Clone Wars. Some of my favorite episodes of the Clone Wars are the political ones.
No, exactly.
That one where
they carry
Ahsoka,
with them a lot of intrigue.
I don't remember the title, but that one where Ahsoka goes to Mandalore to teach the kids about, how you need to be vigilant and watch out.
Yeah, and then the black market
and
episodes.
the black market thing,
yeah.
and I think that was post that. That's why they sent her there.
Exactly.
Was because of that.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite episodes of that show.
Yeah.
Because it talks about in her line about the greatest threats come from within.
100%.
That's absolutely true.
Yep.
Sometimes
you're looking in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And it's a good conversation to have about things in the real world, and that's why I like Star Wars too.
Yeah.
It's
We're
not
going to get
not
too political, but
exactly, but it's not just it's not just Star Wars. It comes back to a lot of cool topics.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah.
The other one that I really want to talk about for the first 2 episodes is those Dark Jedi with the orange lightsabers, so to speak.
Yeah.
Very interesting thoughts on those guys, because we've never seen that before.
No, we haven't seen that lightsaber
totally
color.
different.
We haven't. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, in the I'm not sure, because in books or some of the comics, I think Plo Koon has a yellow lightsaber in some of the
does he?
I've seen that somewhere. I might be wrong. Whoops, if I am. But I have seen that somewhere.
Could be.
So
I never
it's not.
it.
And then of course Mace Windu with purple. So it's not it's not totally foreign to see lightsaber colors that aren't normal.
Sure.
But to see them, in a post like you said, Return of the Jedi era,
right.
Very interesting thoughts are stemming from that. Especially with, can't remember the name of this apprentice, the white-haired girl. Yeah.
Shin Hati.
Yep, Shin Hati. She has a Padawan braid. That's a very curious thought.
Yeah, she's his Padawan.
Going between that.
She's his apprentice.
Yep. It's very curious.
And it was revealed that he was, again, Dr. Hu Yang and his incredible database he has.
Exactly.
Was able to dig in and find out that he was I don't remember his last name. It's Balin. Do you remember his last name? I don't remember.
I can't remember.
I don't remember either.
Either way, he was
Balin,
a Jedi during
he was a Jedi,
the Clone Wars era.
And he knew Anakin. Or he knew of him.
Yep.
He mentioned Anakin. Now, if he was in the show or was in the trailer, he mentioned him in the. Has he mentioned him in the show yet?
I don't
remember
think
that
so,
either.
But in the trailer,
he mentions Anakin.
In the trailer, Anakin speaks. He talks about Anakin.
You wanted to mention Anakin too.
I wanted to mention.
So
Anakin.
why don't we go down that route?
Yes, exactly. Anakin is I grew up with the prequel, so Anakin is by far one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. There's no debate in my mind. Yeah. Obviously, there's other really good ones too, but he's amazing. And his voice is very stated in the official trailer for this show. I don't know if we're going to see him as a flashback. I don't know if we're going to see him as a Force ghost. I don't know what we're going to see, but holy, I am excited. I am excited for that, because Hayden Christensen, as much as people will bash him for his acting, I have never had an issue with Hayden Christensen and how he's done his portrayal of Anakin Skywalker. So I am I am thoroughly excited for his cameo in this show.
I am too.
Beyond excited for this.
I'll tell you my theory on the Anakin audio we heard in the second trailer. I think we're going to get both. I think part of that was the Clone Wars flashback, but I think that part at the end where he says something about you can do this, Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I think that's him. I think he's going to visit her as a Force ghost before she goes off on this mission with Sabine and Hera and these other characters to find Thrawn and Ezra.
It's very possible.
And I think that part is him telling her, saying, "Hey, you can do this."
Yep.
She
totally
has
agree.
doubts whether they can get there, maybe or not, and successfully
totally
complete the mission. And I think I could be wrong about that, but I got to feel. After I heard that, I thought I almost feel like we're gonna get both.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get flashback and Force ghost.
And when we talked about on our debut episode, I guess, of this whole series, you talked about if Anakin says snips to Ahsoka, it's gonna be a whole jerker. We're all gonna
Don't
die.
do this to me, Jacob. I don't want to go. I already got emotional earlier talking about Hera, for God's sake.
Exactly.
Don't get me going on this.
Either way.
But anyway,
I'm really looking forward
we'll
to that moment. No matter how they give it to us, there is no way his voice shows up in the trailer and we don't see him.
Oh, of course not.
We have to see him. It's a show about his Padawan, basically,
right.
All the way through and
completing her journey.
very
exactly.
very tender bond between those two. If we don't see him, Whew.
Plus, speaking as a strictly heterosexual man, Hayden Christensen is a handsome guy.
No,
so we got to see his face.
Exactly. No.
We got to see his face.
Exactly.
So
no, I'm really looking forward to all that. So, I mean, I suppose in a way that's just kind of our take on what we want to see in the future. And I mean, this show has, I mean, it has a lot of room to move. I'm very excited to see what it's going to do in the future. Absolutely. And honestly, with all the pacing and the mystery of these Jedi, which we don't know much about, and
they don't seem to be Inquisitors. Merrick maybe had been a former Inquisitor.
Merrick, I would say probably so. The spinning lightsaber.
Yeah.
That's like the signature of the
But
Inquisitors.
they don't call him like the 8th brother or the 13th brother or whatever. However many
there's plenty of theories going on with like who he might be, and I guess we can talk about that just a little bit maybe. It's just purely
someone with his helmet style
theorizing.
Someone with his helmet style fought Ahsoka and Ezra and Kanan on Malachor when they met up with Maul.
Yep.
And some people are saying that helmet style was it the 8th brother? I can't remember.
Could potentially be the same guy.
Could potentially. I see some differences in the helmet.
Oh, I do as well. It could be also a
They're similar, but I see some differences.
People who are into the Legends like non-canon games too. People have been saying they think it's Galen Merrick from the Force Unleashed games, which the
name is similar, but
it's similar. And people were looking at the voice credits and they're like, "Oh, Sam Witwer's in there," and it's like, well, Sam Witwer would be the guy who played him. But as far as I'm concerned, that's an extremely like off the cuff speculation that doesn't have like a ton of proof behind it. It's just pure fan theory. But would I be excited if that was the case? Yeah.
Me too. I didn't know much about that game, but I know about the character.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Would I be disappointed if he ends up just being his own character? No. I'm totally fine with Star Wars branching off and doing whatever they want.
Give me new and different every time.
I also think it's a lot of fun to theorize about characters and stuff like that during the show because it keeps me and other fans really into it and really paying attention to just about every part. I mean, Star Wars is enough of a franchise that people will comb over the entire credit sequence just to see names that they recognize.
Absolutely.
Absolutely bonkers. I don't know too many other franchises, maybe except for Marvel, that people will ever do that. So it's just really cool to be a part of a franchise so popular.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool
The guy that voices you mentioned Marvel, the guy that voices I've talked to you privately before. There's a lot of connection. There's a lot of Marvel, Star Wars actors, actors have done both.
Yep.
David Tennant, who voices
Sam
Hu
Jackson.
Yang. Yeah, Sam Jackson.
Sam
Jackson, that's the obvious one. But David Tennant, who voices Hu Yang, he played the villain in Jessica Jones, one of the Star Wars series. And I don't know, I think your mother's coming out to video bomb us again.
Yeah.
Hi, are we doing well?
Doing great.
All right, thank you very much. I think we're going to wrap it up soon here. But
5 seconds of fame.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if y'all didn't notice, she video bombed us last time.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it until after watching it back later, or maybe she mentioned it.
If you want to find it, go ahead and watch it again.
It's on YouTube,
Can't hurt.
too. Yeah, that's right. Hey, go watch us again, right? Watch the first episode. But I got to talk about my oh my god moment from the series so far, and that was the... I think it's one a lot of people have talked about. It was the reveal that Morgan Elsbeth was a Night Sister of Dathomir.
Yes, extremely cool reveal.
I screamed out loud in my living room, oh my god.
Yep.
You know?
I've always been a fan of the Night Sisters, and I've really liked that whole, Dathomir arc. I mean, even with the Clone Wars and Maul getting his legs from Mother Talzin and all the other Night Sisters then getting, raided by Grievous afterwards, those arcs are actually one of my favorite arcs from the Clone Wars, just because it really goes into the fact that the Force and magic are not the same thing. People, like Han Solo in the originals was like, oh, the Force? You mean that, like voodoo? Like that magic?
Yeah,
it's like
simple tricks and nonsense.
It's like well, not really, because if you want simple tricks and nonsense, go to the Night Sisters. They got a lot of simple tricks and nonsense there.
Right.
So, but, I mean, it's just cool to see that there is a different dynamic, and to see that Morgan actually possesses some of that power in the first I think it might have been the second episode when she went to use that map. She used a little bit of magic herself to get that working. So that was really cool, and I'm sure we'll get to see even more of that. I'd love to see more of that.
I would too.
If we get the chance.
Yeah. They even did the special effects very well with that green
I know.
mist.
I've loved the special effects and all that from this entire show. I thought the Purrgil looked great. I thought all the ships and that New Republic fleet in the third episode that we just saw.
Great.
That was amazing. I loved all the.
And I kind of perked up when I said, A-wings. We haven't seen A-wings in any of this TV series. I don't think we have.
No, exactly. They're really bringing out all the stops to make these look visually appealing.
Yeah. Back to the Night Sisters. Every time I think about them, I think about the very first now Legends book that came out that wasn't tied to any movies was called Splinter in the Mind's Eye.
Yep.
And I really would like to go back. I like that book. I should go back and reread that. But there's a character in there. I don't remember her name, but I think of that character all the time when I think of the Night Sisters of Dathomir. She, in fact, there's this bar she hangs out at. I think that the bartender keeps telling her, "Oh, you're just doing parlor tricks." You know, she's moving things and stuff like that.
Just parlor tricks.
Yeah, it feels like she's not fully Force sensitive, but they didn't really call her a witch in that book either, but it almost, I don't want to say that's where they drew their inspiration off of, but the Night Sisters of Dathomir came from a different book called The Courtship of Princess Leia. But, boy, I'm going deep cut. I can tell by the look on your face. I'm going deep cut on you now.
Yeah, this is his domain.
This is my domain from before you were born.
I've never really, delved into the comics like that.
I read almost all the Legends books.
There's, Star Wars Insider magazines that he used to pay a subscription for that, I've looked into those, and it's kind of cool to see some of the stuff in there.
Yeah.
But that is not Legends material. That is, economy stuff. So that's here.
So, exactly.
So,
exactly.
not the same thing. So, when it comes to Legends, I'm not super well versed, but take you on your word for it.
You're going to take my word for that. Believe me, that's where the Night Sisters actually came from, was from the Courtship of Princess Leia.
Yeah.
So,
but either way,
they were a little bit different form, and they took a little bit different form, I think, than they did when we got introduced to them in the Clone Wars. But it's almost same concept, I think.
No, and it's really cool, especially with them being sisters to what's the species that Maul is?
Oh, the Zabraks.
Yeah, the Zabraks.
Yeah, they live on the opposite side of the planet.
Exactly. It was cool to see that Maul wasn't just like where'd this guy come from? It's like, oh, well, we know where he's from too, and it's like to be able to have a connection between that.
Exactly.
It's just Once again, those connections again. It's like Star Wars is just amazingly connected, and really easy to have a long conversation about it all.
Absolutely.
Kind of pick it piece by piece, see what's going on.
You and I do that pretty well, don't we?
Yeah, I'd say
in a positive way.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
But we criticize the things we don't like.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything you haven't liked so far in this? Just let's be fair.
I suppose if I had to make one comment, it would potentially be the puncturing of Sabine on the first episode.
That's what I was going to say.
Not to diss the choices of Disney and the choices that they make in their show. It's their creative freedom. That's totally up to them.
It's their baby.
However, I think, me being a prequels fan too, when I look at Qui-Gon's death, I'm always like, oh, no.
No way.
No, not that guy. I love that guy.
Dang it.
But
he was going to be around for the whole trilogy.
Exactly.
Now he's gone.
Yeah,
anyway.
Now he's gone. But, when you see all these other characters, Reva and Sabine and a couple of other ones getting, pretty what seems like fatally destroyed in their gut. It's like, how?
Right, how does that happen?
That? And I've watched a couple of videos explaining how is that the case? And I mean, if you're really boiling it down to how you're going to justify it in your head canon, so to speak.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon was just sitting there for a while with a punctured wound. He didn't get medical treatment right off. Guy had a lot of time to just writhe in his deathly wound.
Yeah.
Whereas
Obi-Wan had to finish his dude off.
Exactly. Whereas Sabine, she got medical treatment right away. So if I had to, appease myself in my own headcanon, like I said before, that's what I'm going to say to myself. However, I would have loved to see a cybernetic Mandalorian hand. Instead, see the hand severed and get a
hand made out of
Beskar,
Beskar artificial hand.
Exactly.
That would have been cool.
As much as I don't mind the choice, because at the end of the day, like we said, it's Disney's baby.
Yeah.
I have some creative things that potentially I'd change. However, that's a small moment in a show that has had a lot of very good ups.
I think that was mine too. The only thing I'll add to it is, they're going to have to be careful how often they do things like this.
Just to not cheapen it. Because, there are a lot of, we want to preserve the nature of the lightsaber, too. It's a very dangerous weapon.
It's almost like post-Clone Wars. It's like, oh, there's another Jedi that survived Order 66. Oh, there's another Jedi that survived Order 66.
It's like,
oh, there's another Jedi that survived Order 66.
So it's like being
careful with how often you do that.
Exactly, because then it takes away the wow factor, and that's actually part of why. Excuse me. I'm also really excited to see this other galaxy that Thrawn's in too.
Me too.
Because if Star Wars chooses to explore into this other galaxy and really go for it,
how many different species different species that we haven't seen.
Potentially,
potentially, if
a whole
if
different
they go down
class.
that route.
It could be a whole different class of Force user too. I mean,
Could be
we
a
could
whole
see a
different-
whole
right,
different Star Wars spectrum that's just like opened, and like that to me is extremely exciting if they choose to take it that route. So,
Right.
Lots of good things to look forward to.
Yeah.
Really not that many downs.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
at the moment,
going back to the other galaxy thing. I mean, that's he and I have had a little scientific. I'm not big on. I like science, but I'm not knowledgeable about it.
I'm
is
a
what
big
trying to
science
say.
guy.
He is, but we talk about those things we see in Star Wars. Aren't possible the way those ships fly around.
No, it's just.
But what if they were? Maybe in that galaxy, maybe the laws of physics are different.
Potentially, yeah.
That's another thing.
It's a curious thought. There's a lot of things that they could explore and really branch out Star Wars with. Like I know Marvel did, multiverse, and they spread out into a bunch of very chaotic timelines that for a new watcher that is insane. However,
I watch that stuff too, and I'm kind of getting lost with it. But this isn't a Marvel show. This is a Star Wars show.
This is Star Wars. So,
right.
But for people that are really into the timeline,
yes.
This galaxy could be a whole nother dimension of new things to explore. And wow, like that brings me back to my childhood. Like this is going to be cool. This is going to be really cool. So,
absolutely.
I'm excited for all the opportunities they could possibly do with this.
Yeah, a lot of places we could go here. Even though we're still within the Skywalker saga, we talked in the first episode. We want to
branch out a
little bit, but we're going to get that. We're going to go there eventually. Okay. How do you think we want to? I think we've covered it all. Huh?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much
all
good.
right. Let's wrap it up then. Hey, I don't have a trivia for you this time, so
maybe
next time. Maybe next time I'll have a trivia question for you.
Got to learn something new every day. Maybe not today, but
not today.
In the future, I'll learn something new.
We'll go easy on you today.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
All right. Hey, folks. Thank you again for joining us for episode 2. We probably will do another one at your Christmas break.
Yep,
That'll
I'd say
be the third episode.
That one will probably not be outside.
That one will probably. We are in. Just to let you know, anyone outside watching this, we live in northern Maine, and the next one will be inside, definitely.
And we will probably have like 12 inches of snow on the ground. Hopefully, I want snow this year.
Well, hopefully it's a little more normal than it has been the last couple of winters.
Exactly.
Put my mind at ease a little bit.
Yeah.
But, we won't go there either.
Exactly.
That can get political too.
Yeah.
But hey,
it'll be indoors.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah,
See ya.
You bet.